Happy Sunday. Good to see you all. I'm going to add the article so you can read that as we go. Hi, Darlena. Good to see you here. Hey, Laurel. We're going to get started in just 1 second. I just want to make sure you have the article. If you'd like to check it out, we can follow along together. How's everyone doing today? Good morning. Oh, you're welcome. And this is the 30-day Soul Innovator Adventure. And every day we work in partnership with the Akashic Records. We get a guided message that brings us through this really powerful 30-day container. This is our 3rd year in a row of doing it. Hey, Ellen Marie, amazing things happen every year. Amazing manifestations and experiences happen. And so we're doing it again. And this year is all about self-worth and legacy and actually having the worth, the self-worth, the self-trust, the self-love to like actually step into the relationships and the prosperity and the vitality that can really last rather than just having it for a short period of time. So I really like today's message. It's basically the message is about respecting when you need things to be all about you. And in our culture, especially for women, right? Hey, Steph, we really shame, I think everyone, but definitely in particular women, around making things about us. Like, oh, like that person's such a drama queen. Everything's always about them. It's always about them, and they can't think about other people. And there's a lot of celebrating people who are selfless and can sacrifice, and it's about everyone. But we also know that those people end up burning out and it becomes like a martyr thing, right? But this is actually a perfect message also because we're in Leo, right? We're in the astrology of Leo, the lion. That's all about like having the spotlight and having attention. And it's actually a really important thing to understand where in your life you need that attention and where in your life you want acknowledgement and to be witnessed and to have the spotlight, because it's all connected to your legacy. Like where you're craving attention and priority is where, if you have that, you will be able to really create the massive breakthrough and be in your impact and purpose on this planet. So I'm going to talk to you about the article and my own experience of that last night, but let's just take a couple breaths here and just begin to connect with the energy of this 30-day container and with everyone who is part of this with us. And let's just take a few breaths here. And just touching back into your commitment to this practice for 30 days. And if you're just joining, just feel the energy that's here for you with committing to this. And then as we're going into the article, just feeling into the part of you that wants to have acknowledgement, that wants attention, and maybe what that would look like. And so in your mind's eye, just seeing what it would look like in your own desire to really receive some serious attention and for it to really be about you. What would that look like? So for some of us, it might look like you're on a stage speaking or at a book signing or on a TV show. And then for other people, it might look like getting really focused attention from your family. You know what I mean? Like being the person to share first at a meeting, getting the raise. Like what would it look like for it to be all about you? Finally investing in that program, finally taking that trip. Just take a few breaths here and see what you see when we bring in the frequency of it being all about you. And just relax in that energy for a few breaths here. Awesome. Hi, Amber. Hi, Steph. So yeah, that's today's theme. I'm curious what you saw and what came up for you there. But that's what today is about. Really looking at that. What were you taught about attention and about wanting priority and wanting to be in the limelight and wanting visibility? Because again, this, in order to allow it when we want it, we have to have the self-worth. And honestly, where we're led to want it and have it is very connected to what we're here to do on a like epic legacy level in the world. And that's why for all of us, what you saw would have looked different and been different for you and based on what's important for your life right now. So, we equate a lot of the cruel, unconscious, disconnected behavior going on in the world to people who make it all about them, right? And are really narcissistic. And obviously how a lot of people feel about Trump is a big part, like a great example of that, right? And so we feel like these people don't think about anyone else. Nobody else is factored in. It's all about them. Obviously that's true. But I think a lot of times, hi Jay, making it all about us is coming out sideways because in our society and in our programming, we're taught how wrong it is to ask for the limelight or to have attention or to be the priority. So much of the time, sort of like how we feel about power and money. Like we wonder why the people with power and money and who are making it all about them, why so many of them do it in this distorted way that's really destructive. And it's like, where were we ever taught that it's okay to want that and how to have it in a way that's really legacy level for us and for the people around us? Like if we're taught that's wrong, but everyone obviously wants that. Sex is another great example of that, right? Like all these things that we're taught are wrong that are actually a very natural human desire and instinct because it's part of creation and it's part of continuation and it's part of legacy. And if we're not taught how to want those things or have permission for that, then the type of people go after it oftentimes end up doing it in a very destructive way. And so, as I said, women are taught not to hog the spotlight or be a drama queen or milk things for attention. And then we wonder why, why is there even such a thing as being a bridezilla? Like, why is there, right, in like a wedding is a great example. I just think of like people in the family trying to make it about themselves who are not the bride, or the bride being very difficult. Like, it's one of the one things in our society where we let it be about someone. Like, it's all about them. And how they feel about that and how people in their family who didn't get that sort of attention feel, it really comes out, right? Like that's a dynamic. Or we resent people who are gossiping, or we resent the martyrs, right? Like everyone has that person who works in their company or in their family who's like, oh God, like I need to make sure you know, hey Shelby, how long I worked and how hard I worked and how much I sacrificed, but no, don't help me. Because so much of their validation and self-worth comes from, and one of the only ways they get to be priority and make it all about them is when they become the martyr, right? So it's just like, oh, like, it's so hard and I want you to feel guilty, and guilt is like a big source of power for a lot of people who don't feel allowed to make it all about them. So the way they make it all about them is to make you feel guilty, and then you can't win because they won't let you support them when that's actually all they wanted in the first place, right? Or why, people do other really passive aggressive behavior, but that's just an example of that, right? And people have a lot of illnesses or accidents. Hey, Kate. Oh, happy Sunday to you too, right? And it's like, oh, that person's always got some weird issue they're at the hospital for, or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, people have different feelings about that, but I would say in the consciousness we can all be in together, it's like that's being attracted so that they can finally be the priority and they can make it all about them because there's no other choice. And people who don't have boundaries, right? Like we finally have to make it all about us when we literally have no other choice, when we're up against a wall. And the reason that doesn't serve us is because we create this story and a paradigm in our culture that people with money and power and people who want attention are assholes and are going to do destructive things with it. And then we don't have the power and the attention and the money and the love as currency, as we've talked about earlier this week, to go do great things. And so it all comes out in a weird way. And, your legacy and what you're here to do is about you. And it was so funny. So I'm noticing the messages are just coming the night before, and then it gives me kind of the inspiration, and I work with the Akasha, and then we bring it into today. And last night, we had a barbecue. My neighbors and I, like, we kind of do this little monthly community barbecue and party at our house. And it's interesting because when you do one every month, you begin to really see the forecast of like what's the vibe of that month. And it like really comes out in who ends up showing up, like the guests that end up coming and the things that end up happening. So last night there was two things. One was I had a good friend of mine come who is really open about having attention and wanting attention and like really feeling everything. And sometimes it's maybe seen as dramatic or maybe, but like she really loves other people. She's very successful doing coaching and really supporting other people. But like she also really gives herself permission to be very prioritized. And it's really inspiring, you know, but it's like, it can be triggering or polarizing for other women in particular who don't give themselves that permission. And last night, we just had to start laughing because for some reason, we were all in a group of girls. I just kept making everything about me when I was talking to her. And like anything she was trying to do, and it was so unconscious, but I was with conscious people, and so we could all like see it was happening. Hi, Leah and Patty. And like, I could, you know, make fun. I could have a laugh with it. I wasn't, you know, but hi, Cindy, but it was like really obvious. So everything she was telling me, I somehow made it, I brought it back to like how that had to do with me or how I had experienced that, or like she was about to read everyone an email from someone to explain it. I suddenly at that moment had to get up and like make them pause. Like I just kept doing it, and it was so hilarious. And luckily we're all people who in normal world, it's if you do that, it becomes gossip or triggering or whatever. Like in this world, we could all have a laugh with it, you know what I mean? And see that it was happening for me. And she was like, you know, I think it's just that I give myself so much permission to make it about me that right now I'm a space for you to give yourself that permission. And like, where do you need that right now? And so we could all sort of like laugh about it, you know, and like I could see that. And I was grateful that I have that sort of self-awareness and self-worth that I could admit that was happening and that we could have that sort of dialogue. And it was like, yeah, absolutely. Like as women, hi, Roxanne, we're just told to not do that, and then it comes out in all these other weird ways. And at least the next step up from that is like having a woman who's so solid in that reflect it and then let you bounce off of that, and then like we can just be curious about it and like and enjoy it and just have fun with it. And another guest at this barbecue was someone I had never met him before. It was like a friend, you know what, you know, every time you have a party, there's a friend of a friend that's people invited, their whole, whatever it is, that person was there. And he was such a consumer and was like touching all the women in a way where it was like, hey, stop doing that, you know, and like eating all the food, but like in this just intense way, like obviously didn't bring anything, you know what I mean? And it was like eating all the food, touching everybody, like just, there was just this way he was consuming, because we had all types of delicious foods and drinks and whatever, right? There was just a way he was consuming the energy in this very intense way that he made it all about him. And it was like the exact thing of like, oh, men who are so entitled and this and that. But it was like, I could see that he just hadn't gotten the attention he had needed. There was a deep wound there. Like, you'd have to really be willing to be curious the way my friend was curious with me to see it probably. But it was like, there was a wound where he clearly hadn't gotten the attention and the acknowledgement, or there's a way he's not getting to express it now. And the way it's coming out is that when he gets an opportunity to be around people who are sharing a lot and offering a lot of energy and offering a lot of nourishment and, you know, just a lot of really powerful women and a lot of delicious food, right? Like when he got into that field, he just had to like take and make it about himself. And like, it was annoying. And one of the people who was running this was frustrated. And then I was like, that's really what it was about. And it's like just all connected to today's message. And the funny thing is like to get him to leave, all I had to say was, okay, like, I'm so glad you've been here and you've gotten so much. And like, now I need you to help me clean everything up. And it's time for us to start putting all the food away and clean up. So you've been here and, you know, you've enjoyed it so much. Would you be willing to help me? As soon as I asked him to help, and it was not about him and his desire in the moment, he suddenly had to go. It was amazing. Like his girlfriend was calling, like it was suddenly like, gotta go. And it just made me laugh because it was all about this. Like, it's all about where we need more permission to prioritize ourselves and make it about us and not be shamed or guilted, because when we have it in the right places, we can show up in such a different way in the big events of life, in our family and friends relationships, in our health and how we're taking care of ourselves. The other thing is that no one else knows your mission but you. No one else knows your truth but you. So it's like there needs to be a time where you've gotten so comfortable with visibility. Like, why is public speaking? People would rather die than do public speaking, or don't know how to have their picture taken. Like, I think selfies are also like, there's a level of control, and that's why people are so obsessed with selfies. Like, you can control the angle and how you look and like what it looks like, and no one else has to be there. Like, there's a way in which we're very uncomfortable with the vulnerability of attention we're not in control of. And part of that also is like, we're not allowed to ask for attention, you know, or ask for priority. And I was very inspired by my friend, and I was very inspired by the guy that was there last night, and just realizing like, this is another way that we accumulate power and prosperity, is knowing how to make it all about us when it's time to do that. And then we can be more present. And so I want that for all of us this month. And we started this video. Yeah, sometimes it'll feel unsafe. We started this video today of just tuning in. And so if you haven't done it yet, just like another breath, or come back to the video and just, where would you like to be the spotlight? Where would you like to be the star of right now in your life? Like, where would you like to get a lot of attention? And what would that look like? And just take a few more breaths here. And just bring that into the field of this 30-day thing. So that was it. I was very inspired. And then it even transferred into like, like there's just, you know, certain things we'll all do when we allow ourselves to do that. But also I got a call from my family while I was working on this. And normally it's like, if my family wants me to be present and there's something happening today where we wanted to be present together, and I say I have something going on with work, it's like, oh, it's all about you and your work. But this time I realized, like, no, it's not that. It's just that I have a commitment to continue to do these articles and these videos, and I want to complete that. And then I can really be present and be in the energy of this. And so when we learn how to like make it all about us, we can realize how it's actually allowing us to be actually very present and do our legacy level job with our work, with our relationships, with how we take care of ourselves. Like, there's very, wow, that's a beautiful image, Shelby. In the end, being selfish in this way, or admitting where you want this sort of attention and spotlight, will allow you to actually be present and show up in the other ways. And a lot of us, again, came from childhoods of, like we were talking about the being rushed. Like, a lot of people came from a childhood of being shamed or having parents or someone else in the family that took up a lot of the attention. So that's something to think about as we keep going, because if you really are in your legacy with your money and your work and your relationships and how you're showing up, it means you're going to naturally get attention, because you're going to be a very bright, powerful light in the world. And so as you're feeling called for more attention or wanting more attention, you're also being called towards your legacy. So that's something to think about today on a Leo day. And this actually would be my father's birthday and my grandmother's birthday. They were both Leos, and both really were very magnetic and knew how to really have attention and want attention, and also like what they did with that attention was sent back out in really beautiful ways in the world. So I'm just thinking of them today as well. And I'm thinking of all of you, and I'd love to hear, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're sending that up to them wherever they are. Yeah, I'd love to hear what came up for you around attention, or where you'd like more attention. If you want to do the Epic Legacy program, that's underway now, and you will definitely get a lot of quality attention there. And we'll just keep this going, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye.